what, 5 branches?
Yeah, so we're 5 branches now. I think we were just setting up in branch number 3
Okay.
at the time a couple years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. So yeah. So it was, yeah. And how many techs you have now?
So we're running 7 right now. In the summer, it's going to be a number more.
Okay. So cool. So that's, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I want to get behind that mentality that you have about setting branches, even with such few techs. I know it has to probably do with marketing. But I love what you're doing. And the reason I listen to you, I've listening to you on a bunch of podcasts now that you've been on. And one of the things that I love about you is the transparency that you have about the marketing, about what it really is and what it really takes. And I think in a lot of the podcasts, even major podcasts, they never get into the reality. It's always, I started up, I'm so successful, I made it, we're crushing it. And yeah, some people talk about the reality, but for the average pest control guy, because I get calls literally every week, people wanting to do SEO because they're seeing all the things that I do and they're wanting to do that. And for you, you've done different things. For me, SEO does what I wanted to do, but I got in originally, it was my only vehicle. Like you had one vehicle at the beginning. So we all pick our one vehicles, and I think of what we're good at or what works for us, and it still works for me. And I'm pushing even more. And I know that you started talking about you investing now in SEO and in brand. And I want to get into that because most people don't want to get into brand. Brand is expensive. Yeah. It's very expensive. And I focused on brand first and SEO. So I was able to do both. And I haven't had the need for the other marketing tools yet. I'm getting into them this year because I already have a need. I've pretty much hit the wall of what I can do with SEO. And so I'm super excited because what you've been able to accomplish and what you've done. And so just give everybody a quick background. For those of you that haven't heard who Tom Miche is of Miche Pest Control, give everybody a quick background of how you got into the industry, your background in the industry, and where we're going now.
Yeah, so I started as a door-to-door sales rep in 2010. I was okay. I wasn't great. Very much just okay.
Okay.
I became a service technician like a year and a half later, and then got promoted to service manager, switched companies, and then was recruited away to a different company and was a regional manager for them. So I have a lot more experience on the operations side than I do on the sales and marketing side. I didn't know anything about digital marketing and SEO until I started my business and decided I needed to learn.
Right.
So when I started the business, I made a really big mistake and I covered way too wide of a service area. And I'm still paying the price of doing that.
Yeah.
But we cover 19, it's either 18 or 19 counties, I can't remember which, in DC, Baltimore area. So it's very densely populated, but right. Our routes aren't.
Yeah. You're like, you gave a hug to a bear.
I feel like a couple of grizzly bears is.
Yeah, I know, because originally I just focused, I knew that from service industries that I needed to just stay within like 13 miles and just micro market that to death. And that's kind of like, I guess we're the two extremes, because I took that way too seriously instead of expanding more, or at least putting more techs in different locations, even if we, just had them in different cities versus just try to focus in on one market for too long. And that did me in. So I guess the two extremes is trying to find that sweet spot is where the experience comes in. But you have something unique that 99% of the people getting into the industry don't have. And that is that at least you had some sales experience.
Yep.
Even if it's bad, or even, I was a corporate sales guy I was never a small transactional salesperson. To
Okay.
me, this is a lot harder. It was easier to sell 13 million across 23 states than
Oh, yeah.
it was for me to build it up to 250,000. It's just that people don't realize that just because you have that experience, sometimes it just doesn't translate. But at least you had the sales experience, you had the tech experience.
Yep.
You had the service manager experience, so you know what it takes to hire and lead people.
Yeah.
And then you had the business insight experience from being a regional manager of all the KPIs that are involved in the reality of running a big business.
Yep.
You had that experience where 99% of the people getting into pest control don't. And this is where they think that just the pest control knowledge is enough, because if they do such a great job, everybody's going to recommend them. For us, that wasn't the case, because I was a great tech and we did focus heavily on tech.
Yeah.
But I understood the business side, that's never going to cut it. And we never did get all those big referrals, not in Miami. You're in a major market like I am. You're in Washington, D.C. area.
Yep.
You know, this is a very shallow market and very superficial, where people would drop you, like that for just, they didn't like you that day. It's just the way the market is. The huge cities are that way. Most people aren't used to huge cities. So you're in a market, but I think what you bring to that uniqueness of what you bring to the table, and then the other things, everybody thinks that, you learn things or you know them all, but you really learn them along the way by making a lot of the mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
I made mistakes in trying to do what you were doing, but I wasn't willing to do what the platforms required of me.
Yeah.
And therefore I didn't do it when I saw my other friends who were doing it, but they didn't have a life on a Sunday afternoon. They're up at midnight, 2 a.m. They're texting me and going, bro, I just lost 5 calls, and they were just losing their mind. I'm like, I don't want that. To me, SEO is so much easier for me. I understand it. And I guess we're all afraid of doing what we don't understand.
Yeah.
And I had a lot, as I get older, I have a lot less tolerance for those mistakes. That you are young, and when I was 20 something, I was like, screw it, 10 grand, let's just do it, whatever, let's find out what happens. Not anymore. I'm not willing to take those kind of chances that freely. So I think that the transparency you've had on the you're doing a lot of this, probably at about a third from what I understand. Let's talk about the paper lead side.
Okay.
Of the business, because that's what you're started at. And I think that's probably where you got a lot of experience. And let's, we don't have to, give away a lot of your secret sauce, because I can't give away all my keywords that I'm doing, but I can give away all the amount of what it takes to do it. I mean, most people aren't willing to do it. There's the difference. And so let's go on the paper lead side. And how did you actually, I mean, when you started out, when you decided to say, okay, wife, we're going to get started, what was your did you have a pricing strategy also at that time? Because you already understood the market and the business. You understood how to do all this as far as a market analysis.
Yep.
How did you decide, okay, I'm going to grow it and I'm going to be this kind of company, and this is, the one marketing avenue I'm taking, this is the pricing strategy. How did you come about all that, and what did you decide to do?
So pricing strategy, I benchmarked all of the big companies in the area. We have about 20 that are worth actually benchmarking, because those are big enough to be in the PCT top 100. And I figure if anyone knows their numbers, it's probably them.
Right.
Starting out, I had a sense of what the prior company I worked for, their numbers were, but I knew that mine were not going to be the same. So not knowing my numbers going into it, I just benchmarked what everybody else was at and made sure I was not the bottom, but close to the bottom, and made sure I would communicate value every chance I had.
Yeah. So because this right here, a lot of the guys listening to us, if you're in all the groups, everybody loses their mind when you start talking about being the bottom price. but not necessarily, because I just finished analyzing 60 competitors. I mean, I'm heavily dense. I've got at least, in my area, there's at least 7 to 10 that are on the PCT 100.
Okay.
That I'm competing with. It's a cutthroat competitive market. My numbers are still above them. I decided I was going to go about 10% above the market.
Okay.
And stay myself there. I was sometimes 20 to 30%, depending on the service. But I decided, since I'm selling a very unique service, there's a demand, people are looking for it, nobody's servicing this, I could get away with that.
Yeah.
It's gotten in the last 7 years that that's no longer the case, because now I'm dealing with a lot more guys saying we do the natural organic, we all do it the same thing. And so I every year I pull the market, see where it's at, and then tweak our pricing to get our closing ratios. And what I notice is the pricing is dropping to continue to keep those closing ratios the same. So what I did now is I said, let me look at about, if I can be about 80 to 90% of the market.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be at.
I can close a lot more business. We've been talking about your pricing strategy. I've had that in my mind for a while. I never pulled the trigger. I actually did. We took away the initial fees now. So we got that barrier out of the way. I know people are going to have a fit with me about this, but when I analyze my numbers, I still make as much.
Yeah.
So I don't lose anything. I just took the barrier out of the way of that initial service fee and went with a flat fee monthly, like you have. And we analyzed the numbers. I was $1 off different than your market on average. Yeah. So we were a month. So I still make my 500 and something, 580 a year that I need. I just got that, but we're in a unique market where we're 50% rental. I don't know what your market is on rentals. Miami is such a high rental market. People can't afford to buy. The income is much lower. Just my county over, literally a county up, Broward, the annual average income of a home is $73,000 with a 30% market. Miami is at $46,000 with a 50% rental. That's why it's so high. It's much more expensive to live here than there, but yet, so they have more money available. I can charge 30% more in that county.
I believe it.
And I do. So I have a different pricing for that county than I have for this one. And I already have a tech really close over there to getting that county. So he's taking care of that. And we're looking at that 13-mile radius, and we're sticking to that. And so we're putting techs where we want them to manage a third, but I can cover 80% of that county with one tech. It takes 2 techs to cover 80% of this county because it's so long.
Yep.
So you got to strategize all this. And what guys don't understand is that they're trying to be the most expensive guy. And when I hear it, well, I am not the most expensive, but I'm not the cheapest. I'm kind of in the middle. And so we look at average pricing and median pricing, there's a big variable there, because I got guys doing $65 initials.
Okay.
And doing 65 every other month. And and you're right. So you're thinking you're doing 45 a month. It's like, how do you make money? But you're doing it quarterly. You're making about $150 a quarter.
Yeah.
That's solid money. Here, it's about 126 companies that do it a quarter. They're about 126. We do every other month because my callback rates would go through the roof. We tried it. It just astronomical. So those are, as far as your pricing strategy. And it says people, I said, well, I never analyze the competition. I just do my own thing. No, inherently, you understand mentally where that pricing is. You got a number, then you go above, you won't close it.
Yeah.
But you're too proud to just talk that and not be honest. But when I analyze the median price, initials right now, the median price is 146 initial.
Okay.
60 to 65, still they're about $68 every other month. Very few companies are doing quarterlies in South Florida. You can't do quarterlies unless you expect 20+% callback rates. Anybody that I talk to that's doing quarterlies says, yeah, we're getting 20% callback rates. And they're okay with that because they're paying everybody on production on 18%.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. So those are the big variables. So that's and when we look at the median price, instead of the average, we're at 150 on the median price initial, $74 every other month. I decided I'm going to do what you did. because I've been thinking about it. It's 48, 40. I have my site now at 45. I'm going to switch it to, because I started doing it last week and we started closing like gangbusters. Everybody's like, so we gave them the option. Said, look, if you're a renter and you're not going to be there more than 6 months, that's not a good value. Here's our average price on the market. So we went 148 initial and then 49 a month after that, but we get the 148 up front. And then we started doing for the owners 1 year agreement, $49. And it's, yeah, I'm not going to be here. I'm an owner. Yeah, I'll take that one. That's the best deal. Nobody says no. So our closing ratios just went, through the roof. So those are the things that guys don't understand, and they're not willing to just be honest and transparent about of what it really takes to do a lot of this, because they just can't seem to get that pride out of the way that I don't want to be like the big companies. And I don't, and I think they need to get the business smart to understand that they need to be a business person and not a technician that needs to make X amount every month, because they don't want to deal with the employee issue. So they need to keep it up here so that they can keep their lifestyle. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Let's talk about the paper lead side of the reality of that. And
what do you want to know?
Because we set this up. I set this up on the pricing, because when we get to the cost of that, people are going to say, I don't see how you can make money.
Yep.
It doesn't translate in their head. That's why I set it up this way. So, when we talk about paper lead, what's the one that you started off with and that you feel that you're still doing that you like? And then let's talk about some of the other ones, and we'll talk about the pros and cons.
So initially, 75% of my business was Thumbtack. For the first, I want to say for most of 2019, when we started, Thumbtack was 75%. And then over time that edged down to 70%, 60%, 50%. And a lot of people don't like Thumbtack. I just found that responding fast, no matter what time of day it is, right. 2 a.m., 6 a.m.
That's the reality there.
That's the reality there. It doesn't, Thumbtack doesn't care when you sleep.
Yeah. So the idea would be that you either had to be up at 2, 3 in the morning, responding to all this, not getting any sleep.
Yep.
And then, or you get to the point where you hired a person or 3 people, because you need 3 shifts or at least to cover that type of business, that model. And that's what I found a lot of the guys that were doing it were like Sunday afternoon, bro, last night we missed 10 calls, I can't sleep, I had people that gained literally 100 pounds their first 3 years in business. They were just so stressed. It was unreal. It's unreal, the stress that is under. A lot of people don't want to put their family through that. So you got 50% of your business or more now, and you had most of your business. Let's talk about the reality of those numbers, of what the real cost is. Because when I analyze all my marketing costs, it doesn't matter which way I slice it in Miami. It's $250 per sale. That's without the cost of sale.
Yep, I believe that.
And there's no way I can get around. I don't care if I use Thumbtack, if I use Angie's List, because if you're not doing everything in Miami, you lose too much. If you're not doing wildlife, you're not doing termite, you're not doing mosquito, people expect a one-stop shop. And so if I say, well, I don't do wildlife and I don't do mosquito and I don't do termite, I lose 40, 50% of those leads. When you add them up at the cost of the lead, and people are going, oh, I paid $13 for a lead. I'm like, yeah, but do you close 80% of it to make it? Because if not, you're at $150 to $200. I don't care which way you cut it.
If it's $13 a lead, if you're okay paying $250 per sale, as long as you're closing 1 in like 20, you're fine.
Yeah, see, that people can't get that in their head. We close about 20%.
Okay.
People are talking numbers like they close 80% of sales. That's BS. I don't know anybody who's growing. I don't know that you can actually do that. We've never been able to do it.
We don't do that, but I know people that do that.
Okay, because it has to be. You have to be in such a closed market where you've been a company that everybody knows you, knows your parents, like people who inherit their parents' business, and they can, they got marketing degrees now, and they went to college, and they're doing all the things their dad didn't want to do, and they can grow the company. But when you're starting from nothing and you're a tech and you don't know nothing, those are different dynamics. And I think comparing, they get into a lot of just depression. So what is the real number? Like, what is it actually costing you without the cost of the sale, without adding the sales commission and that? What is it like on a lead basis on LSA? What is it really costing?
On LSA, those costs just came down. I don't know what those are updated to. But
Okay.
I can speak to Thumbtack in my market. The last time I ran it, it was about $150 per sale.
$150 per sale. Okay. So it's gone down.
Yeah.
It's gone down, because I know that those numbers were up. I mean, when I was doing Yelp, we added it up, man, it was like $250 when we were doing it.
Last
So
time
we could cover it because we used to have enormous, front rate cost. We were at 350. I was at 459 at one time for an initial. We were just, that's it. It didn't matter, but the market gets more competitive. The market changes. You have to adapt quickly, or else you'll be, out of business. So we realized, hey, this model is no longer working as it was. And our numbers are better this year than they were last year. Our initial prices and our markets, we raised our prices substantially. We're still doing better than last year. But I realized that I'm seeing the trend. And if I wait till next year, it'll be too late. I have to do it now. So you're about 150. And so you're doing $49 initials.
Yep.
And people are like, you're losing money on every sale. It makes no sense.
Up front. But if we're doing a year agreement, people are committing to 1 year, 2 years. It makes sense really quick when you're able to spread out the cost of that customer acquisition over the cost of the 1 or 2 year agreement.
Yeah. Did you know that going in? Because I mean, you always had the operational experience, so you knew what a lot of people were doing. I mean, you probably didn't know the technical aspect of everything, but you knew what your company was doing. For the
most part.
For the most part, right. So when you decided, it makes sense, how did you finance that? Because you have to finance it on the front end. When you have 0 customers, how did you finance it? I mean, how did you do that? Because you had to have a partner, or you got to take out a loan or borrow it or do something.
So I lived on savings for a bit.
Okay.
It was a lean couple of years getting started.
Yeah, I bet.
Equipment so I could do stuff. I still remember there was a specific hornet's nest that I was trying to remove. It was like 3.5 stories up. It took 3 ladders, and like me thinking the ladder would be tall enough, me thinking the pole would reach, a few different ladders, a couple different poles, and I had to buy them, return them, so I could pay payroll later that week. It was tight.
Yeah, no, I bet. Because I mean, if I listen to most of the people in the industry who do the accounting formula of strategy pricing, when you're starting from 0, there's zero-based budgeting. I mean, this is an accounting principle. You can't do a cost analysis on you can do it on projection, but you're still pulling that out of your butt because you have no idea what you're going to produce. No clue. So a lot of the unrealistic accounting models that people are teaching and how to strategize your pricing for profit, I realize that a lot of the companies that are growing have totally ignored that.
Yeah, a lot of them have.
Because if you understand, if you want to grow, there's things you have to do to ignore that. And you have to have, the business savvy part that says, this makes more sense, even though it's not common sense.
Yeah.
Because they're going for a safe model going, I realize what, Gordon and all these guys are talking about pricing models based on what a tech can produce on an average day and how much your costs are and 50% of this and that. And I get all that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for a startup. The small guy, that'll never make sense to them. I tried that. I had a pricing model for my ornamental pricing, which was way easier which was basically I needed to stay at a 6% cost of good. So
Okay.
I took my cost of good because we use a crap load of chemical. It's like doing trenching almost. And we use a crap load of chemical. And I said, oh, if I can make 95% profit, here's what I need to sell it per foot.
Yep.
And that was my motto. And I was always profitable. And I had no problem selling, multi-million-dollar accounts at that, because that's who can afford it anyway. So, and everybody's trying to figure out all these formulas where the pricing is in the market. That stuff never made sense to me. I just went and said 6% with a 94, 95% profit margin on ornamentals when the rest of the industry is at 15. I'm ahead.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that people do just sometimes doesn't make sense. And what the consultants are telling you, a lot of the stuff I'm listening to these consultants said, it doesn't make sense. When I listened to you and I said, okay, he's being more transparent than the average bear.
Yep.
in what it really takes. So you finance that portion, you get in. What I mean, we talked before, at one point your cancellation rate on these thumbtack deals were like 50% cancel.
Yeah. So the first year we'd get, even excluding the one-time services, we got a lot of one-time services, which
Right.
we treat as paid leads.
Right.
Basically getting paid to go out, do a single service, and then have an opportunity to sell them more. We had about 50% cancel rate the first year.
Right.
Specifically because we weren't doing any contract. It was all as at people's request.
Right.
And we would do a 30-day follow-up. And by follow-up, I mean we do the first quarterly service the month after
Right.
that first service. So we got a lot of people canceling after that second service. They wanted to make sure the bugs were gone, they weren't having any issues, and then they drop us. Which a lot of those customers have since come back. But it's a heavy attrition rate, and you just have to understand that you're going to have something like that.
Right.
That's the cost of starting the way that we started.
Right.
I started, I should say.
Yeah. What's your cancel rate now on average?
It depends on the branch. Right now, across the board this year, it's about 30%. If you exclude the branch that we did door-to-door in, it's more like 25%.
Yeah, I'm still talking to a lot of people who are,
Yep.
even with contracts.
Yep.
The majority, the number here in Florida for the larger branches, it seems to be about that 30% cancel rate. And what people will say, and I know what some of you are going to say, and it's not true, because I know some of these companies, the way they're operating, I know some of them had huge struggles. There is no such thing as a company that doesn't have internal chaos at one point or another because they're figuring things out. And either the owner moves too quickly, and because he's like, I can, I know how you are because I've talked to other guys. I used to be that way when I was younger and in sales. It was like, hey, make the sale. The company will figure out how the hell they do it later. Right. That was my attitude. I get paid to sell. I don't get paid to figure out operations. So when I go into sales mode, that's one of my biggest fears a lot of the times is when I go into sales mode, my people can't keep up. I can't keep up. The stress is too great. And I'm in that mode right now because I can grow. I just finished, spending $70,000 on a build out on a new van. We're ready to grow again. And I took 2 years off with the divorce and my mom's death. And I took some time off for me. I'm chilling right now. Like I don't do a damn thing. I literally don't. I mean, I'm hiring everybody to do everything. And I just oversee it. Like right now, I was looking at our 27 keywords this morning that we're ranking weekly. I check them in the market. And then I send it to my SEO guy and says, hey, this dropped, this went up. We need to focus on this. But that's my job as a CMO. But I have to keep an eye on them because I realize that no agency in the world is going to stay on top of my stuff the way I stay on top of my stuff.
Yep.
And eventually I got an SEO guy and I've got a media guy and this stuff works for me. But I'm happy sitting here all day looking at data and saying, hey, bro, we need to fix this. Hey, we need to fix that and not do a damn thing. I won't touch it. I decided that's it. I'm not touching anything anymore. I hire people to do it. I'll hold their feet to the fire and that's it. But you're at $150. It makes sense in the long run because you're getting 580. Your cancel rates went down. prices have come down on a lot of the market. I've been tracking the keywords, the cost on keywords.
Yep.
Keywords that used to be for PPC were at 20 something, $34 last year, the year before. We're now at $12 to $16. So the PPC has come down the cost. But we've also experienced the drop in calls.
Yep.
And we've experienced the numbers dropping. So you're what percentage of your business is pay per lead right now?
Right now it's about 30%.
Okay, so you're doing, I think 30 right now, roughly. And door to door, that's still a big part for you?
Door to door is down to like 25% of the business now.
Right. And are you using it mostly in those markets where you figured out you have no route density? Or is it just a wide area? It's just a company policy. All branches do door to door.
So we're not currently doing the door to door. It's
Okay.
the door portion of our business. The part that came from door to door is currently about 25% of the business.
Got it. Oh, but you're not doing door to door now.
We're not currently doing it. We did not do it this year.
You did not do it this year. Okay, so that's still a residual that hasn't left, and it's in the business, you know, in the matrix. All right. And so what else are you doing? Pay per click? Are you doing?
We're doing some pay per click. We're mainly doing creative ads with Google's display network, and we're doing a lot of SEO.
A lot of SEO. Okay, so let's go into the Google because I'm more geared to doing Google Display Network, and especially doing YouTube ads against my creative, because I have so many. I mean, we got 600 videos alone out there on my Nature Pest channel, which I can get a lot of mileage from that against the creative. Talk about what percentage of your business right now is the Google
like SEO, pay-per-click type stuff. We're talking
well, besides SEO, because I think that's separate. I keep that as a separate from paid advertising.
It's harder to track separately, so I just lump those together.
Got it.
I think the overall cost between them.
Okay, and what is that roughly averaging out right now on cost?
About cost wise?
Yeah, for the sale.
So this year our average is about 250, probably 275.
Yeah. See, that's where my numbers are with those systems, and I keep running the numbers, and that's the reality. For a lot of people can't play that game. They can't stomach that financing, you know, for the next year until they get the revenue. Now it's literally paying for itself, and it becomes, what's your total ad budget right now? I'm doing like I'm like a budget percentage wise, not numbers, because I don't want you to give away your fight, but I mean I'm looking at 10% minimum if I have to grow and even be more aggressive than 10%.
I'm easily north of 25%.
Yeah, you're being very aggressive. I mean, you're like in that stock market where all your everything is on high risk accounts, so you're taking a lot of risk. That's huge. Yeah, because we for years I was with SEO 3%. I mean, we made it on 3% with 17%, 20% growth a year, and I was happy with that. That's not the case anymore, and that's the reality. So all your paid, all your ads are running about 20% of growth, but but people don't understand the difference between cash flow and profit. That your profitability is like.
Yeah. We walk a razor thin line.
Yeah. And that's the reality of growth, that it is a cash hog, that it does take up the money. But you're growing at what rate? 50% a year right now, maybe more?
I mean, we're 3.5 years in and we're over 2 million. So
yeah, nice. Yeah, that's the
we don't really do it justice, I don't think.
Yeah. Because I mean but that's neck breaking. That's like, some people could not handle that kind of growth to be able to do it. I think a lot of it, everybody, we have this argument all the time whether anybody can grow a multi-million-dollar business. I don't think anybody can. Yeah. I think even if you wanted to, My goal is probably get it about 2.5 million. That's my goal right now, is to get to that number. I don't care to grow at 20 million. Not interested, honestly, but not everybody can grow that. If I got guys who told me I want to grow a big pest control company, and they've already quit twice and gone to work for somebody else's. Bro, you don't have the DNA. And I think a lot of it has to do with DNA, your risk tolerance, your background. I mean, most of the people that I've seen that have grown a pest control business in a short period of time did have your similar experience. They either came from sales, from door-to-door sales. They either had partners that they brought on to bring on the talent they didn't have, or they had the background in management where they were branch managers or district managers, so they understood the business part, and then they were able to grow it. Pete Chopin is coming on. His took a little bit longer to grow, but he has his risk tolerance, but he comes from that background. He has the sales and the management background, which allows you to grow because you already know what you're going to expect. When you're starting out from zero, you don't know what you're going to expect. So you're doing, so let's talk about your deep dive, because we're at, I know we're trying to get you out of here, but I wanted to milk you for everything you've got. You're doing, you started to get into SEO and brand, because really SEO is a lot about brand building. And it does have its aspects too for lead generation. I think the matrix everybody's talking about are totally wrong, that they're using, where you're looking at clicks and you're looking how many website visitors you have. At one point I was at 16,000 a month visitors to my site. I slacked off for 2 years, didn't do a damn thing, and I'm still getting 10,000 a month. And I didn't do a darn thing. This is the beauty about SEO, but I had to front load it for 2.5 years, 3 years, where I was there until 2 a.m. You were answering calls. I was writing. I was creating content, and getting it up to that 150, 200, where, people are, I listened to a podcast where they talk about, well, the way you measure good SEO is how many website visitors you have and what's your domain authority. Our domain authority is right up there, yet it doesn't produce it doesn't necessarily translate to revenue. And that's where I have to be transparent, because it doesn't translate to conversion unless you have really strong sales funnels, but usually that comes from pay-per-click anyway. It doesn't come from that. I focused on saying, if I can get the numbers to 10, 15,000 a month, I really only care about 3%, which is, I was actually only caring about 1%. We're actually converting about 3% right now.
Okay.
That's my reality. And so domain authority isn't a Google matrix, that's a Moz matrix. And clicks, if you look at the mix of my website, it's primarily informational, but I'm converting more and more and more of it intentionally now, because I wanted to have brand, and I wanted to build a name, and I wanted everybody to know that Nature Pest and we were holistic pest control. Like, nobody was using the term holistic when I started doing it, and now there's like 15 other companies who are bigger using holistic pest control as a term. It wasn't used. And so I am about becoming America's pest control guy for a reason, because I'm intentional about what I want to do in the future. And I don't necessarily want to build a $20 million company. So I did that. And now this is why you see me posting every day. I got a lead in Texas. I got a lead in this. I got a lead in that. But the reason is because of where my site ranks. And I worked on getting that site to rank for a reason, because everything else I could pay for. But I can't hire an SEO agency right now to do what I do in-house for less than 10 to 15 grand a month.
I believe that.
Because of the amount of content we're putting out. I mean, I put out 3 videos a week, 3 blog posts, and that's just video, and 3 podcasts on different platforms. So we're talking about easily 15 pieces of content a week, when the average company is saying, we want to charge you $2,000 a month to put out a blog a month. You know, when I go into blog mode, I'm putting a blog out every day.
Yep.
At 1,500 words.
Yeah.
Blog post.
3 a week.
You know, that's what you're doing. So what are you doing right now for SEO? And what has been your experience then in this whole SEO process? Because this is probably new for you.
So my experience in the SEO process, I didn't know anything a few years ago when I got started. I've learned a lot more since then. So now I have a city page for every city that has 2,000 or more homes with an income over 75,000. And I did some demographics research to figure that out.
Right.
So I want to say we have probably 125 to 150 city pages because of how wide of an area that we cover.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of service pages and a bunch of blog content.
Right.
Service pages, we're getting as granular as ant control in Fairfax, Virginia.
Right.
Bed bug control in Arlington, Virginia.
Right.
We're being pretty specific, and the reason for that is people search for those terms, and it helps provide just more relevant content in the areas that we're searching for.
Right.
The prevalence of near me searches is really increasing. Pest control near me.
Yeah, everything is going to local. Everything is going. I can see your strategy of putting multiple branches out because of that.
Yep.
Because that's the only way you can really do it. It's just that I guess I don't know how easy it is for you. For me, we have to have a certified operator that took the test, passed the state exam, and has 3 years of experience to take that exam in order for me to open up a new branch.
Yep.
I can't just do it with any of my techs. I can't just do like a storefront and just go to my friend's house and say, bro, you're going to get the card in the mail. Just, we actually have to have a CPO because the agriculture department will come down on us for that.
So food for thought. What if you had a career progression for your technicians? You hire them, start them, and then 3 years in, you say, as soon as you get your certified, your CPCO or whatever it is in Florida, then I'll give you 1% of that branch and you can have a branch.
That's what I'm actually doing. That's what I'm doing with one of my guys. I'm trying to get him because his son lives up in West Palm, and that's a huge market that we want to get into. And I'm, pushing him. He worked for me for a year, left. Now he came back and he's happier than ever. He realized he was making more money with me than he would have doing something else. So that's one of my goals is to get a branch up there, get him in the next 2 years. Because we got to wait 3 years.
Yeah.
So you get it and put it up there. And that's my goal, to do similar what you've done, just to have a market presence, even if I don't have a ton of trucks in that area. But if I can have one truck in that area on a strategy, I can cover that market at least, because I'm looking at that 13-mile radius. That's my strategy right now, and putting a truck in every market in South Florida. That's been my goal that's my next 5-year goal, is to have, cover everything from Lake Okeechobee down to the Keys.
It's a big area. You can do it.
Yeah. But I already took my licks. I know where I made all my mistakes. I took 2 years off. I didn't want to be burdened with anything. I just wanted to take some time off. But that's what we're going to do. So how much content are you producing a week as far as your think about it. We have 75 city pages. We got half of what you have. I'm going to expand it into Broward next year. That's another 75 cities.
Okay.
That's a lot of writing.
So I just checked last night, and I think I have about 900 pages on the website.
Wow. Yeah, your site is way bigger than mine, because I'm at 450 pages.
Okay.
On our site, and that's enough to get the domain authority that I wanted. I mean, I'm looking at some of these big companies that have domain authority, and I'm like 2 points behind them. Okay. On a 40 something. Last time I checked, we're at 42, 46 domain authority. I don't know. I got to check it again. I'm checking it on a weekly basis now.
Yep.
So that's, that's a lot of investment.
Yeah, it is.
In brand. And at what point did you decide brand is important to build brand and not just sales? Because if everybody that wants to grow a company says, focus on sales, forget about brand takes too long. It takes too many years, too many millions of dollars to compete with the likes of Orkin, Truly, Terminex that have established brands for 100 years. At what point did that make sense to you to say, let's focus on brand and go into SEO?
I think it was about, so SEO, it made sense for me from day one. It takes time, so I didn't want to put all of my eggs in that basket right away. It would have been too start.
Right.
Focusing on brand and really doing brand awareness type stuff. That was about a year ago.
And what was that? What happened that said, we have to do it? I think we have to do it. Something must have tricked to say, let's, start adding this on as in our basket.
Realizing that customers that came through internet search stuck around longer, they're more likely to bundle multiple services together. It was just a better customer overall. And
because it's their buying decision
to search for us.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's why my cancellation rate right now, including the one times, which predominantly my business is a lot of one time, probably over 30% one time. We're at a 6-point-something% cancellation rate.
Yep.
Because people are wanting what we sell. This is why I wanted to brand. If I decided to go with that eco-friendly niche.
Yep.
I realized I had to build brand. And I had to have something that people wanted to look for. If not, I was never going to have it. And I had the ability and the time more than I had the money.
Yep.
So that was just, and then it's natural for me to be in front of a camera, to be behind a microphone where most people are afraid. My writing sucks. I'm the worst writer in the world. How my blog ranks, I have no idea. And how people, this stuff is so great. All the backlinks we have, I think the 15,000 backlinks are all organic.
Okay.
We didn't pay for any backlinks ever.
Nice. And
so because I write good content, where my grammar is, sometimes it's total crap. I admit it, and I'm getting better at it, but it was more important for me to get the content out.
Yep.
Than it was to be sure that the content was perfect.
Yep.
And it didn't make a lick of difference. Right now we improved our website where we had a high bounce rate for a long time.
Okay.
And I improved that bounce rate by 13% and got it down by just changing a couple of things on the design. So, the heat mapping and all that and tracking those numbers and seeing, what can possibly be fixed and tweaking it. Yep. to improve it. Since you're going that route, and I've been wanting to go this route for the longest, I believed forever that most pest control, the market was going to shift, that most pest control was going to be bought online.
Yep.
And we've been prepping for it, to trying to get a platform that will allow my customers just to buy online. We did it for a while. It worked, but it was manual. In other words, we got the lead in and then we had to pump it into pest routes.
Yep.
And then send it to the customer. We're trying to streamline that, but the lobster marketing route didn't work for us.
That's surprising.
It didn't. We took it on in their infancy 2 years ago. Okay. I don't know if it's gotten any better, but we hired a separate company to do our local because we hired them to do the SEO, the local stuff, and it just wasn't producing the ROI. After a year, we canceled it, and they had a pipeline that we could use. I wish they would make a standalone pipeline, like a plugin for WordPress that we could buy or rent. I don't care. I would pay the $200 a month, $300 a month just to get that. And did you switch over? What are you using for? Because I know you have a nice, robust sort of funnel to get that customer to buy online. I like the way it was designed. I looked at it. Is that integrated with them, or is that something that you still have to do manually in-house?
So that's their version 2.0 or 2 point something.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I didn't know if that was something you did, because that's not what they originally had. It's totally different. So yeah, I like what they did there with that.
It functions better.
Okay.
And it actually captures lead data when people back out partway through the process. So if they
because you capture it on the front end.
Yep.
Yep, the lead capture, at least their NAP, their name and their email or phone number, so you can, because a lot of people are going to just want to check your price.
Yep.
And especially when you have domain authority like mine, I know that all the people around the country that listen to my podcast are going on my site and checking me out, what I'm doing daily. Like I've had people, hey man, you changed the price. It was 350. Now it's 150. I said, yeah, but we charge on the back end for all the follow-ups. We had to play that strategy of reducing it to get more people to close. So I know there's a lot of people doing that, checking me out. I checked yours out, and I, was looking through it. So,
you probably got a text from one of my team members then.
well, you had a lead from Richard Branson.
Okay.
I wasn't going to make your people call me. But I'm getting calls like right now. I see my phone blowing up from all kinds of different companies. We have CallRail, and it's pretty good at capturing the caller ID for the inbound. So that's what you're using. What percentage of your business right now would you say is actually getting bought online? I mean, it's a percentage. It's probably like small, but it's probably significant.
It's not super high at this point.
Yeah.
We get as many people that we're closing after they back out, and we just reach out and contact them.
Which is a good strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't looked at that number lately.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Cause I mean, we were doing it, and it was probably converting about 20% at the time. It was really good, but I did it also because I needed to back out for a while and not touch anything and just get some clarity. And I just wanted to, we had a company answering all our calls and everything else. And then I brought that back in-house. Now I'm hiring a sales rep to do that. That's one of the things I'm doing this year. It's going to be next year already, but yeah, we already negotiated everything as far as commission, and that is going to be all inbound and then outbound to our database to try to upsell everything that we possibly can. And that's where I'm at right now. That's, we're probably going to do most of the SEO in-house. We're still doing it in-house. I hired one element of it, which is the GMB, just to hire our GMB out. It's much more convoluted than people think, especially when you're in a competitor. I mean, literally within 13 miles of me, I've got 60 competitors.
I believe it.
So it's not like you're in the middle of Nebraska where you're one of 3 companies and they're all spread out. You're like, I ranked number 3 on GMB. I say, shit, there's only 3 competitors. What the hell you expect? I mean, by default, you had to fall in one of them. It wasn't like, you can do it. So yeah, our market is cutthroat. Plus it's a very high Hispanic market. I'm sure like if you have in parts of Virginia, you have a very high end Hispanic, area. Those numbers are different. Hispanics are taught to haggle everything. They don't just go search for 3 prices. They're, negotiating with me on the price while I'm giving it to them. Yeah. So that's a different mentality. We're 65% compared to 30 and 23% up in Broward and West Palm. So that's why I said, I got to get out of the Miami-Dade, stop focusing. And that's why I'm focusing more now at heading north, where by next year, we definitely want to be in West Palm already and fully integrated into Broward. And then I want to move over to the West Coast, over to Naples and Marco Island and all that, where the money areas are. That's what we plan to do there.
Are you doing any advertising in Spanish or just English on the website?
We do full-blown Spanish. We rank number 1 for all our Spanish terms. In that, because most people just don't know how to do it. Even SEO company, I tell them, we need to know, we don't do SEO in Spanish because we don't have any Spanish. That's a big challenge for us, that SEO people don't have Spanish speaking people that they can do Spanish SEO for us. So I have to do it all myself. Luckily, I can read and write badly in both languages. But that's one of the big challenges I have, that I can't hire a lot of people to do what I want them to do. Because, so I have one full-time guy just devoted to just video production, the podcast, and partial SEO. And then I'm doing still the rest. I hired a GMB, but I'm going to be doing the content writing. Because another things that people have is the stuff that I hire them to do. The writing it's not representative of our brand.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest challenge. They can write something that will rank. And then when I read it, it's like, we don't do that. That's not who we are as a brand. They're used to the spray company, and they're talking about all kinds of things that we don't do. They don't understand our brand. And so therefore, that's a big challenge when you build brand, because you built everything on that reputation, on what you do, the exclusivity of what you do. It just, I can't get people to understand. Even my own internal people, like, okay, yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, I get it. Or, I constantly got to be, bro, that isn't, that makes no sense on what we're doing from an entomological perspective. I try to write, I got to take the entomological part and make it translatable to that end customer.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time. They either go super technical or they go super superficial on everything, and finding that balance, that's our challenge. So, it's hard. SEO is not as easy as everybody thinks. It just, I don't see how everybody's talking about how easy it is for them. When I look at their numbers, I'm like, dude, when I look at your website and you have 50 clicks a month, and you're telling me you're doing SEO and you're doing all this business, I said, you're either doing lead ads or you're doing door to door. Because when I check your numbers on the pay-per-click, it isn't there either.
Okay, so it's all LSA then, probably.
It's mostly LSA and or door to door.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you're talking to me that you built this, and then what kills me, dude, I just gotta be honest about it. It burns me to death. And the same thing that burns you to death about the pay-per leads, where they will market against your own brand and against your own keywords. Yep. and basically cannibalize and raise up, and then they'll just end up raising the price on that pay-per-click, because it's all related. When you do pay-per-lead with with Yelp or anybody else, they have to go into that market, and this is why they got to charge you an exorbitant rate for that lead. Yep. Where I have door-to-door companies that started SEO companies, they don't do any SEO. It's like on your own site. I mean, that just burns me to death when I see that, because it's like, why are you selling SEO when you don't even believe in it, when 60 to 70% of your business is coming from door to door and the rest is coming from pay-per-lead, and maybe 2 to 3% is coming from SEO. And then you're now building an SEO company to sell it to pest control people. This is where a lot of us got burned, and we got a bad taste in our mouth by bad SEO that wasn't going to perform.
What I will say is, I know some people that have done that, and they actually have a pretty good program put together.
Yeah, it's just that getting getting a real referral from somebody that isn't getting a kickback in one of the groups. Like, I got burned for like 10 grand because the owner of that group was taking a kickback. Mm-hmm. And he was referring this SEO company as the greatest thing. We couldn't vet them, and we trusted them that they were, but the owner of the group was taking a kickback. And I found that out because, they tanked my SEO. I went from 16 clicks a month in the middle of a pandemic. We were already struggling. And 3 months later, the site still wasn't built, wasn't done. Nothing was done. And then they went ahead and went live, and we went to 0 clicks, 0 calls for almost more than 30 days. And then I said, you're fired. I switched it back on to our website, and the call started coming in almost instantly. But that's the biggest people that have that, oh, I recommend this company, I recommend that company. And then I look at their website, and you're getting 50 clicks a month. They might have built a great website, but they're not a good SEO company.
Yep.
And there's what the difference is, that, oh, they did a great job for me. Well, the site looks brilliant. You know, you still got, when I pull a GT metrics on your site, you're at 80%. You got a B when that thing needs to rank at under a second, and it can't get it to rank under a second. So you got a great designer. The way I told it to the way I tell this to people, and for those that are wanting to do SEO and websites, is that there's a difference between a real web developer and a web designer. And the web designer is like buying a Lamborghini shell and putting an axle on it with 4 wheels and putting it in your driveway, and everybody that drives by says, wow, that guy got a Lamborghini. It has no engine, no transmission, no wiring, no instrumentation. It just sits there and looks pretty, but it ain't going anywhere. And this is where I want people to know. It's like, you know, let's stop with a lot of the BSing in a lot of these groups, because when I pull, you know, an SEM rush on your site, when I pull a SpyFu, when I look at all your data, it doesn't add up to what you're telling me. And the thing is that the average pest control guy doesn't know enough to do that, because he's not willing to spend $200-300 a month in software like I do just to monitor what my SEO is doing. And that's not even including what I spend on the SEO. Yeah. You know, we're spending in-house about $3,000 in-house.
Which means it would easily be 9-10,000 elsewhere.
Yeah. And that's what we spend in-house. But I learned, and I'm teaching my guys how to do it, and getting off of that so that they can do it. So yeah, it just, a lot of the stuff people talk about when we really analyze it from the business level, when we're talking to you, and people like, I got Maria Sorrentino coming on. She's done a bang up job of building her company. She's coming on the 2nd. I got Pete Chopin next week. So, you know, the people that I'm choosing to surround myself with in this industry is, you know, people like that are, you know, they're straight shooters. They talk the truth. Here's the reality, like it or not, it doesn't matter. You don't have to like, I don't have to like what everybody tells me.
Yeah.
I just expect people to be honest and transparent. A lot of the time, because I'm not building a podcast to get 100 million followers, so then I can do some type of, you know, marketing to sell some type of product, because I have chosen not to do that. I rather just keep an audience of people that are trying to just, I want to be better. I want to do better. I need the tools. A lot of the consultants in the industry, they talk to them. They talk to me later and says, yeah, I can't relate to him. He's like talking way up here, and I have no way of, I'm down here and I have no way of seeing this. The chasm is just too wide. But at least if you know what you're getting into, and you're prepared, I think it will help a lot of people to know this. When somebody tells them, yeah, the cost, a real cost per lead is going to be somewhere around 40 something bucks. For if you hire an agency to provide it for you, or somebody that can go and get you those really good leads, and then you still have to be a good salesperson and close them. Because you could get a really high quality lead, but you suck as a salesperson at closing, because you want to be nice to everybody. You want everybody to like you. And unfortunately, that's not what a lot of salespeople do. I have to hire them to, you know, it's kind of like I hire a lion and then I want him to behave like a lamb. You can't have it both ways. If you hire a sales rep, you got to know that guy needs to go out there and hunt and kill so that everyone can eat.
Yep.
And you can't muzzle an ox while he's treading.
Oh.
You can't do it. So that's why I've been like, okay, if I hire a salesperson, I need to know that, hey, I can feed him leads and he can have enough where he's going to be happy, because he has to feed his family. He can't say, I can't turn down half of what you're turning down because I can't eat. Right. So you got to go do it. He has to go sell it, and you got to figure out how the technician pulls it off. Luckily, I have like really good technicians that they can, it doesn't matter what comes their way, they can handle it. It's not going to be, and if it's too bad, that thing, hey, Frank, there's no way, these things have a million holes on this property, but that's 1%. I'm not going to hold the business back because of that fear. So yeah, bro, anything else, bro? We talked about D2D, LSA, PPC, PPL, SEO. I mean, we've thrown more acronyms around than than a mudslinging contest.
Right? I
Yeah.
think we covered the bulk of it. Is there anything else you wanted to know?
I don't know. Tell me, did I miss anything? Anything I should know that I didn't ask you? I mean, you're smarter at it than I am.
Thanks. I think we've covered it pretty good.
Yeah, man, I think so too. And I think we got a good time because I know you're busy and you got to go and all this. And I truly, truly appreciate this. You know, having the transparency. By the way, how's your podcast? Because I know you were doing a podcast and you were doing a group, and you still doing that, or did that go to the wayside?
So I went to start it and I lost my voice for a couple weeks. And then I got sick and I decided, you know what? I just need to table it for a couple months. I will be doing it, just not right away.
Got it. All right. So I look forward to it. Let me know when it's up.
Back up to the new year.
Yeah, at least I'll shoot this over for you and you can put that out there. You know, that I saved you the editing issue and the recording and the producing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man, no problem. It's a pleasure. All right, brother. Take care of yourself, man. Have a good one.
Later.